Hello, everyone. Being here near the window apparently was a very poor decision because I'm all shady, it's all bright back there. And unfortunately, the sun decided that it wanted to come out. So I am going to switch chairs for a quick moment here as you get a view of my kitchen. All right. Stay there. I'll be back. I have to move everything over, unfortunately, because, well, the camera doesn't necessarily let you see what you look like until you really go live. So, isn't that just typical? 1 minute. You're getting to miss some kitty excitement. He's over in the other chair. Okay. I think I am ready, despite the not so smart putting myself in front of a window on a sunny day. I should know better. Ended up all shady. This is why lighting is important, folks, especially when it comes to YouTube. So we are currently at 101 subscribers. So mind blown completely, actually. So yeah, 100 subscribers in a week. You guys have been busy. I wanted to give a shout out to Opus LNA for the suggestion on her channel, as well as to the, I think, Costuming Entertainment Network, I believe is what it is called, on our wondrous Instagram. Let me make sure we have that right. Now, Instagram wants to give me 6 million things to do to log in, because apparently apparently there's been some problems with Instagram and people's accounts getting hacked or attempts at hacking accounts. I don't think I have enough traffic that really counts for me, so to speak, but I went ahead and did an authentication process, and now it is asking for it. CosTube Entertainment Network is the specific name of the channel. So I thank you very much again for your support to us very small, tiny little YouTubers. We certainly appreciate bringing people over and kind of saying, hey, we do some stuff too. And not all of us are maybe as charismatic, let's say, to get 1,000 followers really super fast. So I wanted to pop on here and thank everybody for subscribing, because y'all are awesome. And I wanted to kind of go over some things that I've been doing. Sometimes I post it on my Instagram. If you do follow me there, it's Tudorosities by Maureen. It's also my Instagram. It is in my About page on YouTube as well. One of the things that I've been working on is improving my Tudor kit. This is something that I have been doing. Well, I've been in the SCA for 16 years, so it's been a chunk of time. And with that, we all sort of make clothing to kind of get by and be in character. Some of us make new clothing on a regular basis and especially enjoy fashion, like myself, and we're always making new things. I have totes of clothing that I have made over the years. And to be honest with you, I'm going to be revamping a lot of it and maybe selling some of the things that I'm not going to use or wear anymore. I don't want to waste any of it. So if I can't use it myself, I want it to go to a good home. If I should be selling anything, I will let you guys know in case you wanted to possibly repurpose it into a new life. But one of the things that I've had when I started is a bum roll. That's what this is. It's made out of like a real coarse cotton muslin. And I just stuffed it with the poly stuffing when I started. It's still in there, the poly stuffing. I'm not going to throw it out and just say, I need to have, it's just stuffing. It's okay. You have to start somewhere. And so if it ends up being where you're sourcing things with your local craft store, you have to start with what you can afford. And sometimes what you can afford is thrift shop curtains to start with, which is one of the things that I did for many, many years to source fabrics until I could get something that was a bit better. This is covered in cat hair. I wonder why. I think a Jace was using this as a pillow, which it definitely opts as a pillow. But I redid it. Basically, my bum roll was just plain, and I had ribbons tied here, and they would shred every once in a while. So I took some cotton twill tape and wrapped it all the way around and stitched it down. And this is an underlayer, so I'm not really worried about my stitches so much. As long as it holds together is what I'm worried about. So I did a lot of back stitches, but they were spaced out back stitches. This is a bit of machining because I machined it, flipped it inside out. But that's what happens with like bias and such. You'll get stretching. So if you don't use a thread that's the same color as your fabric, you end up noticing it over time. But yet again, this is under like 2 or 3 layers of skirts. If somebody is checking my stitches on this, you're way too close. But anyway, so it never hurts to go through your Tudor or historical clothing of any kind. Go through your kit from time to time. Repair the things that need to be repaired. Because to be honest with you, I would wear it. If it needed laundered, I put it in the laundry and then it'd go back into the box. And I wouldn't necessarily always make those repairs. Oh, I'll do it next time. And I kept putting it off and putting it off. And, 5-10 years pass and you're like, I still have this hole in this dress or in this shirt. I need to fix this. One of the things that I wanted to show you also was the things I have on my belt. With my previous video that is doing really well, actually, talking about Tudor layers of clothing, I talk about what's in my pockets. And I actually revamped this a little bit. But I wanted to show you what these look like up close because I was so far away from the camera, you could kind of see them, but not very well. So let me put this down a little bit. There we go. So this is one of my largest pouches. So I have 3 pouches that I use. I can go up to 4 or so. I seem to like to carry a lot of things on my person all at once. I was rewatching a documentary, The Tudor Monastery Farm, with wonderful Ruth Goodman. She is awesome. And I was looking at her belt and I was looking at her purse and I was watching her and her fellow ladies running around during the Whitsun Market episode where it's spring and they do the shearing of the sheep and spinning of the wool and making of the wool cloth. It's my favorite episode. But anyway, one of the things that I noticed is she really only had the one purse. And I'm thinking, I carry a lot of stuff in my person as a modern person. How on earth am I going to get things into one purse? Because her purse was about this big, not much bigger than this. So it's something I'm going to have to probably work on because I guess I just come with stuff. What are you going to do? So this one holds my emergency sewing kit. So I have this wonderful, I found this at a thrift shop. It looks like it's made of brass, possibly bronze, and it has shamrocks all over it. And I loved it for the sake that I do an Irish persona living in Tudor, England. So I wanted something that looked heraldic, but sort of had an Irish zip to it. And this fit the bill. What this is a leather 18th century wallet. So this is probably not the most accurate way of carrying a Tudor sewing kit. But to be honest with you, it works. And I also do a little bit of 18th century clothing, which I hope to show you in future videos. So there will be a Get Ready With Me 18th century at some point. I would still be doing like middle, well, probably more like farmer. The clothes that I have are not the things that you would see someone in like Colonial Williamsburg running around in. They're not super nice. They're clean and they're constructed well, but it's something that someone who would be like lower middle class would probably be wearing. And there's no holes. Everything is stitched and repaired and whatnot. It's not super fancy. But getting back to this, what I happen to have in here, a pair of snips. There we go. Got a pair of snips right here, a bit of linen just for patches if need be, a cake of beeswax. It's in the shape of an owl. It's kind of hard to see here. It's also oxidizing a little bit. So it has that kind of cloudy look to the wax. Bone awl, smaller one for a smaller kit, makes sense. And then I also have little graphite pencils that you just twist. And then you get a little bit, there you go, a little bit of graphite that comes out. And you can twist it right back in. These are helpful on like chatelaines and things of this nature. But I also have a writing pad in one of my other pouches. It never hurts to have a pencil on your person. You can always find paper or a writing utensil. Well, have a writing utensil. You can find something to write on eventually. All right. On the bottom, one has pins. The other one has needles. So you have the gray has the needles, the red has the pins. And then I have these wonderful, and these are from Burnley and Trowbridge. This one's made of like horn, and I have a couple other ones that are made of bone. They're thread winders. And this one is just full of white linen thread. And then I have these. This is like one of the ones you can get at Burnley and Trowbridge. This one has black silk. I have a second one with black silk. So two of those, and I'm hoping with one of the big ones of these that it would, give you your basic black and white threads that one would need to repair just about anything. If I'm repairing something and I'm able to make a split stitch or keep the stitches small and invisible for a repair and then go in with the right colored thread at some other time, or even if it's just a basting stitch just to hold something together if you're having an unfortunate wardrobe malfunction, it's good to have something on your person. Now, this, I don't have the biggest hands, but I mean, it's a good size pouch. It's green wool with red linen lining. I bought this at an SCA event, and this person had all three of them, and I just fell in love. And I'm like, I must have the pouches. So one thing I did notice when I was watching the Tudor Monastery farm the other day is that the pouches are hanging low from the belt. You're around like knee or calf length. They're not just up on the belt right on your hip. They're dangling. So I thought that was really an interesting observation. Now they were portraying about 1,500 or so, so that is kind of early compared to about 1,550 as to what I do. But what I'm finding in the images that I have shared on Instagram is that I think there's a lot of pockets running around because I'm not finding pouches hanging from belts nearly as much. But I need to find lower middle class or peasants maybe to see the pouches is what I think might be some of the problem. I keep running into the gentry and low noble stuff or images. And they're really popular because the clothes are really pretty. So, I mean, I get it. All right. So this is the smallest of the pouches. And for fun, I had bought these enameled Tudor pins just to have a little something, something. I mean, it's a modern pin, but if you're going to do it, have fun. After all, it's the Society for Creative Anachronisms, so you can throw in the little fun things here and there. So this just happens to have my skirt hooks. All right. I wanted to show you an up close of these. These are made of bronze. I bought these off of Etsy. I will include the link below. And I just have them stitched to a bit of linen tape. And I actually asked Nina Michaela from the Tudor Tailor, I said, how long are these strips supposed to be? And she said just enough to go over the small of your back and in front of you. So this is maybe 24 inches long or so. So it's enough to get over the lower part of my back and that I could hook the skirts. This, I mean, you can technically do this into silk, so to speak, but wool is probably going to hold up the best for any kind of sharp skirt hooks, to be honest with you. And it does stretch a little bit where it isn't going to like to lay flat after you wear them for a little bit. I mean, I could easily take a little bit of an iron to this and they'll look a little nicer. But I mean, they live in my pouch, so they don't have to look extra fancy. But one thing that I did do that I showed you on my video is that you can flip the skirt up over, and these don't necessarily need to be seen. So there are ways of hiding them a little bit, but your skirts are hitched up enough that you can move around and do what you need to do. You can, depending how long your skirts are, you can hook them up into your belt as well. So that is always an option too. And this one has a moderately long string too. So most of these sort of dangle. So that's the one. Since it only has the skirt hooks in it and I'm wearing the skirt hooks, that is a pouch that's open that I could put change, my ID, some things that one should have on one's person at all times. It's not big enough for a cell phone, that small one. Definitely not. So here is, this is sort of the medium pouch. And I had these little felt leaves from a SCA event. Sometimes you get what they call site tokens. It lets the people know that at the door that you've paid for your visit, and each event can have its own unique site token. I'll show you a little bit more about that later. But I have, this is an 18th century thing, but it is I have my business cards in here. An erasable tablet. And I have my business cards, which have my contact information. They're in my maiden name though. and email address and things of that nature. So if I'm really liking, let's say, someone's item, and I'm like, hey, make sure to contact me if you have questions about any comments that I left on your award or arts and sciences display, because sometimes with the arts and sciences display, sometimes you will get a bit of feedback where someone will put it, like I do. I put a piece of paper and a pen down for if anybody wanted to write comments or questions. And normally someone will write down their contact information if they needed me to get a hold of them, or vice versa, that they had a suggestion that they wanted to give to me. Having a means of open communication when you do your arts and sciences projects or any research project is going to help both you and the person who you are either getting information about or from, or questions, things of this nature. So I have that in this medium pouch. Face mask. Even though we're not quite to the end of the pandemic yet. We have to get through fall and winter yet. And a lot of us are sort of somewhat getting out to normal. This is a face mask. I purchased this one from Rapier Rose off of Etsy, who happens to be a CA friend of mine. And she makes face masks and fencing clothing for the Society for Creative Anachronism. And this is the symbol of my kingdom, Ethelmark. This is I think they call it sort of a boss for a shield. So, but that's Murder Snowflake. People in Ethelmark know what that is. But anyway, I wanted a heraldic face mask for going back to events coming this late summer and fall. So I have my face mask in my pouch. And then I didn't get to show you this. This is the paternoster that I had made. I got this tassel from when I had bought a series of beads overseas. They had these beautiful silk tassels tied to the bead strand. And many of these other beads, I don't think I got these overseas, but these are red coral that are shaped like little roses. And then I have these a brass decoration, and then also brass beads on here too. This is the precursor. A paternoster is the precursor to the rosary, if you sort of follow the Catholic-like tradition or of the early church. Prayer beads were a thing. So more or less, I just sort of counted out. They could be various different sizes, and there wasn't a set number of beads. And they could be made out of wood. They could be made out of the simplest materials. I did leave a little room so one could slide the beads a little bit to keep your place as you pray, which is always kind of nice. It is on a green silk cord, so I mean that can wear out eventually. So I do have to be careful of the wear on this. But yeah, so little prayer bead sort of thing. I figured it was persona appropriate. But there are great, if you Google paternoster, you're going to run into, or if you say like early rosary, you're going to find some interesting information. There's a lot of other people that have done research on it. It's something that I should probably write up an official little research paper on eventually. But yeah, that's all that's contained in the medium wool. They're both lined in a brown linen on this one, and have reasonable length of cord. Looks like it's a pre-manufactured poly cotton, but everything else is nice woolen linen. So that's what are in my pouches that I wear with my normal kit on a regular basis. And I had talked about site tokens. Some of us like to collect site tokens, or sometimes you will receive a token as a thank you for just being you. So there's various different ones here from several local events that I have gone to over the years. This also happens to have the little Ethel mark S carbuncle. Remember what it was? S carbuncle embroidered on it, which was also on the face mask that you saw earlier. And what I really like about this is that it was given to me by a past king or queen. So you can get some really neat things, and the neat things aren't necessarily things you have to buy. They can be things that are given to you and have wonderful meaning. So I have a lot of different pewter. These are mainly pewter ones that were made for different events. And it's like a couple Will's Revenges, and which is a archery event, and a few other ones. I think this would have been to an Arts and Sciences event because it's got the little symbol for it. The Penzic. Oh, one of my Penzic University ones. I don't go to Penzic very often, so the fact that I have that is just cool. And yeah, the other ones are just tokens from friends. And some award items you'll run into. You'll see some folks run around with certain necklaces with symbols on it, and those will vary from kingdom to kingdom in the Society for Creative Anachronism. Wearing this, I do jingle a little bit. I had a bell that, a brass bell, but sometimes it's not necessarily good to be at an event and be tracked. So it's one of the things I wear on my belt, besides my household heraldry, which this has a loop with the household colors and device symbol. One of the things that I had run into that I wanted to show you that was really simple, that's pretty nifty. I ended up getting this for an insanely, like $1 maybe. And it is, at least 2 yards long, I think. About 4 yards or so. And it's a linen belt. It's wider at the back, comes around to the front. And it was so pretty, even though it is worn. And it was worn when I got it. I got this used off of someone selling used clothing, used garb. And I use this basically as my current belt. I have a leather one, which could definitely still hold all of the pouches and things. But there's something about a linen belt that I really just enjoy immensely. So I just wanted to show you this because belts can be tablet woven. They can be made out of fabric. They can be made out of leather. So even if you don't necessarily have a lot of money, look at that. There's quite a bit there. Even if you don't have a lot of money to start out with, you can still have things that are nice, that are wearable, that are comfortable. So now we're kind of going from the inexpensive to the bougie. Now, this may not look bougie to you, but this is bougie to me. You're probably like, what the heck is that? Okay, this is, and I had discussed this, I believe, in my last live. This is basically a girdle book, but I'm using it as a means to hide the modern in a medieval way. So this is the girdle book I was telling you guys about. So it's made of leather. It smells wonderful because it's new leather. So It reminds you almost of the new car smell. If you have leather seats, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, this is nice. Now, this is also on Etsy as well. Let me see if I can find the name of the person. This is quite the chunk of leather, though. So, I mean, I don't mind spending a little bit for a good quality item, to be honest with you. And that's one thing I can say. I know there's some people who really struggled with the pandemic and weren't able to make things go, work, and weren't able to keep employment. But one of the things, I was one of the people that was consistently employed through the pandemic because people got a call on the phone and they got to talk to someone. So, hello. So one of the things that I did is I tried, because I wasn't necessarily going out anywhere and eating anything, I saved up some money as an emergency, just because you don't know what's going to happen, especially in a once in a century pandemic. Things can go AWOL. But what I did is I took the money that I wasn't necessarily using for eating out and was supporting some local artisans. So I was able to get a couple new pairs of 18th century shoes, which I am waiting for those to come in the mail here very shortly. Supporting those small businesses that I knew that were struggling. There was a few vendors that normally would go around to various different reenactment events. Well, those events weren't happening. So I would go on their website, and if they had a web store, I would purchase a few things, just because I'm thinking every little bit helps. Even if it's just me getting a few things here or there, that's stimulating somebody else's economy, even before we ended up getting the stimulus money, so to speak. If you can help your fellow reenactor, make a go of it. Do so. If you can financially support them, even in a small way, is wonderfully helpful, and I know that they'll thank you for it. I have a friend of mine who does fiber arts, and this is someone I've known for a long time. And they have a small business that they do in the SCA for it. I found out that they're struggling because what happened with canceling the events also. So I signed up for their Patreon. So there are ways of helping and supporting, even if it isn't a lot of money. A little bit, every little bit helps. Or you can do a one-time donation. That's what I think is wonderful about the internet. There are resources out there if you know what to look for. Sometimes it's knowing what to look for that's the tricky bit. But as I said, this was a little bit more of a bougie purchase for me. I've been looking to get this for at least 5 years, maybe more. I wanted a girdle book to hide my phone. And this was basically from Art of the Book, Booke. And they are on Etsy. And they have this listed in their shop. It's $165. It's some money. To be honest with you, this is not a sponsored video, but I love Klarna because you can split up a big purchase like this into payments, which is fantastic. It makes things so much easier when you can do it that way. But I'm going to show you how this works. So basically, there's this beautiful brass hinged clasp. So you can choose the leather color that you want. They ask you for all of that information when you purchase. And there is basically 2 panels. One panel will be left blank to protect the screen of your phone. And then the other side has elastics on it that hold your phone in place. Now, my phone has a cover. So I take the cover off because it does add bulk. So if you don't trust yourself and you leave your cover on, that's fine, but it will make this harder to close. They do ask for the measurements of your phone. So that's one thing to also consider when you are giving them the measurements of your phone, is finding out basically what the measurements of your phone are, so they can measure this so it fits properly. So it's one thing I should have thought of when I started this whole thing, is maybe I should have made it a few, not really a centimeter, but some however many millimeters wider than the actual iPhone itself. But this is how it looks. Yes, that's my screensaver. It's one of my dolls. It's the back of my, what do you call it? Having a brain fart. It's the back of my red doll that you see on my original video there. But anyway, so, I mean, it's secure. It's not really going anywhere. And you just close it up. Flip over. There's a loop. And this just goes over the loop. And there's a little hook. The little hook just slides there. So if you're wearing a fairly firm belt, what you would do is slide this up and either fold it over like this, and your belt goes through here. We have a belt that we can use, for example. So you slide it up, and then it folds over like this. The knot acts like a counterweight. Or if your belt is really snug, you can just have the knot up through your belt, and it'll hold into place via friction. To be honest with you, I'm probably going to have it like that. At least with this linen belt. My leather belt's a little bit snugger, which I could probably get away with, because the friction of leather on leather will probably hold it into place better. But that is the girdle book I got from Art of the Book on Etsy. I think definitely worth the money. I mean, they decorate both sides. There's no chintzing here, people. They this is not a sponsored video, but they do a great job. I mean, they did the decoration. They have the studs. And they do the studs and decoration on both sides. You get the nice clasp. And there's wiggle room here. So, I mean, if I had a slightly slimmer case, this could probably go in with the case, because they're not making it super, super tight. But yes, it has that new leather smell. Yet again, as I had mentioned, I could sit there in my Tudor outfits, looking like I'm reading my book, and I could be just sitting here and scrolling. Ooh. Quite nice. Oh, somebody gave me a like. Thank you. I'm going to take the phone out of this right now and try not to drop it while I don't have it in the thing. There we go. We are safely back in the case. Lord in heaven, look at all the email. I've been constantly unsubscribing to certain email lists. It doesn't seem to make a difference. I get so many emails. It is just crazy. Like, how many emails do you want from your local pharmacy in your inbox? Come on now. There is some random stuff that I've never subscribed to that I think they purchased your email and send you emails, unfortunately. I was trying to reorganize my Pinterest earlier today, and I'm like, this is the rabbit hole of rabbit holes. I could sit there and probably be on Pinterest all day and not have it organized the way that I wanted. Okay, so let me just set this over there. Okay, so besides me going on and on and on, one of the new things that's coming up is fabric. All right. I bought this the other day. I posted a picture of it, but I don't think it turned out too well. It's tartan. It's beautiful. It's like a plummy, not quite burgundy, but plummy, tealy, black tartan of awesomeness, which I think I am going to be making into a pair of mitts, 18th century mitts. So the fingerless mitts that go to like your elbow. Yeah. I have enough that I could definitely do that and still have some left over to make a huswife, or housewife, which ends up just being a needle case that I'll use for 18th century stuff. Yes, I could use the leather stuff too. But to be honest with you, I want to have enough of each of my kits so I'm not having to go back and forth all the time. So if I can make this into, and I'm going to try to get some matching cottons in the burgundy and the teal and put that in the inside. I think it will look super sharp. And probably do black as an accent color. I think it'll look awesome. Between that and then doing the fingerless gloves. Yeah, that's the plans for this. It's pretty, it's yummy, it's wonderful. It feels fantastic. But this is the thing. When you purchase fabric, how do you know it is what you think it is? If you buy it new, if you go to like Joann, but I bought this secondhand from a secondhand vendor. There was nothing on there telling me what it was. It could say wool, but how do you know if it's 100% wool or if it's a blend? I guess, I'm going to be doing a video on how to do a burn test. Everybody talks about doing burn tests and what the results are. We're going to go outside and we're going to do burn tests because I just have a whole bunch of new fabric that I bought from secondhand vendors that I'm not exactly sure the fiber content is. It's not an exact science. I will preface it with that. Burn testing is not an exact science. But to be honest with you, I'm trying to find out if it's natural fiber content, at least 75% or more. And if it's not, I'm going to get a hard plastic bead of some form. If it is cotton or wool or linen, it's going to burn away ashy and sort of float away. It'll disintegrate completely. So that's more or less what we're going to do. We're going to try to find out relatively how much synthetic might be in some of this stuff, which means that what we're going to end up doing is just taking like a tiny little corner or a couple threads even and just lighting them on fire and seeing what happens, because fire is awesome. Why not? Yes, we will do safety precautions. This will be outside. I am going to be using a tarp, so we'll see if Mother Nature agrees, but that is on the agenda. We are going to show you how to do a burn test and what those results look like. I'm going to dig up some poly that I know that is poly to show you what polyester and polyester blends looks like. I got rid of most of it, but I know I have a few pieces still downstairs that I didn't want to get rid of, that we can do that to show you guys how that works. So that's on the agenda. Let's see here. Okay. These are the fabrics that we're going to be burn tested. Anything that is purchased that's in plastic bags, by the way, those plastic bags do get recycled at a local recycling place because, yeah, I'm slowly accumulating enough of the canvas bags that I can actually be somewhat productive when I go out. So that's one of my goals, is to get rid of using plastic bags as much as possible when I go out, and then use my fabric bags and keep one or two in my purse that fold down really small, so I don't have to be getting more plastic bags. So, all right. So one of the things that we're going to be burn testing on our next video is this lovely piece of wonderful, which I think is linen. I have a feeling that it is a linen blend. I don't think it's 100%. There's just a bit too much shine on this to make me think that it is 100% linen. I'd be surprised if it was. Let's put it that way. But yeah, from a secondhand vendor, this piece was only a couple dollars. You can't go wrong with a nice brown. Like, this is that, it's a little lighter than a milk chocolate brown. That's just, yeah. And it definitely has that feel of linen. Definitely has it in there. So we'll see what it turns out to be. This one was interesting. This is what shot fabric looks like, where one direction is woven in one color and the other direction is woven in another color. This also feels like a linen or possibly a cotton. I'm leaning a little bit more towards cotton, but I think there's a little bit of linen content in there because it's got almost a scratchiness to it. It's definitely doesn't have that, it's definitely not wool. Yes, sniff your fabrics. But I also have this, this one has quite a bit of strings. So, I mean, we can pull off a whole bunch of strings and burn them and see how it goes. This is from the same vendor. I tend to buy from this vendor a lot. And it's a pre-printed flower pattern on linen. This is 100% linen. I can tell this one from like a mile away. And it's definitely not near as shiny as the other. Oh, you know what? Even on the edge of this fabric, it says pure linen. So there you go. But it's a table runner, basically. And I am going to embroider the prettiness out of this because why not? I'm thinking it's a short table runner, so I'm probably going to use it more like a dress or scarf because I need a good one for I have silk embroidery threads from the Silk of the Month from that friend I was telling you about. She does a Silk of the Month on her Patreon. And so you get a bundle of silk for your fee once a month. And I'm like, well, I will have colors to embroider with. Let's see here. This was an interesting piece. It's 18 by 46 width woven fabric. I don't know if you can tell. Here we go. There are parts that are a little see-through. It reminds me of what they call drawn thread embroidery. And what that basically does is you draw a certain amount of threads out and then you gather them together to create a pattern. So I'm going to practice some drawn thread embroidery with this. It definitely looks like it's hand done because I'm seeing various different thicknesses going on here. So this is really a handmade or hand spun, I'm guessing probably hand woven piece. You just don't run into these very often, and it was such an unusual one, and it definitely feels like a cotton more than anything. It could even be a cotton linen blend. It's got that nice feel to it. And if you're someone who doesn't necessarily sew very often but are interested in learning about fabrics, I would start with going to a local fabric store and touch the merchandise, unfortunately. Feel what 100% linen feels like. Get that in your fingertips. Feel what a wool suiting feels like as compared to a wool broadcloth. Try to understand the thicknesses and textures that you're going to be working with, because the better you understand your fabric, the better you're going to be able to work with it in the end. This is another sort of mystery fabric. I'm thinking this could be possibly a wool linen blend. It feels very similar to the orange shot fabric. So I'm wondering if maybe that does have a touch of wool in it too, just because it's got that feel. Now, sometimes it can be acrylic too, and the wool will burn away and the linen will burn away. But if it's acrylic, it's going to turn into a hard bead as well. So we'll see. This one was this is like cotton duck is what this is. So I'm not too concerned with this. I bought this as a really heavy interlining for a future corset. Well, future set of stays, actually, to be 100% accurate there. So a set of like 18th century stays, maybe doing the set of stays for Queen Elizabeth is really at the very end of her reign. So, I mean, you don't run into it until like the 1590s, 1600 time frame for a separate corset, well, a separate set of stays compared to doing a stiffened kirtle. So besides those blends and the one possible linen that I found, all right, I found this last weekend at a vendor who normally only does cotton. There are 3 yards of this wondrous 60-inch wide fabric. It's a nice tan color. It's like a tannish brown. It doesn't smell, so it didn't come from like a pet place. It sort of smells like a warehouse. But I would be surprised if this wasn't 100% wool, to be honest with you. It has happened. Like Bernadette Banner has run into the suiting that she was using on her Lady Sherlock ended up not necessarily being the wool that she thought that it was. So there is always that possibility, but gosh, fool me. It's beautiful. I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do with it. I have a project, and I've discussed it before, that I wanted to make a black English fitted gown and then embroider it with red embroidery to match a hat that I was wonderfully gifted. as part of like a gift exchange. So I made a gift for another person. This is what someone made for me. I think that was in my last video. I had, it was in my hat video, which is coming up. You'll see the hat video this coming Friday, so stay tuned for that. There's a wonderful hat at the very end of the video, if you stay put, that I was gifted that you need to see. The embroidery on it is gorgeous. Gorgeous. All right. So this sort of has like the brown and a little bit of tan. Tudor Tailor was talking about what they call russet, which is wool, or, well, yes, wool, sheep colored wool, which means that it could vary from a dark brown to a gray to a white. Sheep, of course, came in several different shades of those three in between. So, I mean, this is technically russet. This is technically russet too. And I could have something that was a cream white sheepy wool, and that technically is russet. On one of my videos, there is also a what I call my Russet Waistcoat, which is made with brown and white and gray. I did all three colors, and I wove that fabric, and then, well, I spun it, wove it, and then turned it into a waistcoat. So, I mean, it is technically russet, and all of these other shades are russet too. This came in sort of like 1.5 yard pieces, but it's 3 yards in total. I measured. Also 60-inch wide fabric, so it's wide fabric. And for so cheap. You know, yet again, this is the same secondhand seller that normally only stocks cottons that had wools, and I didn't buy all the wool that this person had. They had a couple other ones that were woven in such a way I didn't like it. Let me show you. This, it's the same front and back. There's no backing on it. The fabric, they had a beautiful rust-colored orange, like this color orange. It was gorgeous. And it had like a polyester backing to it, like a webbing woven on the back of that fabric. I wanted to cry because I was like, I want this. And I am not, well, I'm not going to wear it with the polyester webbing on the back. And if I try to take it off the fabric, it's going to destroy the fabric. So there's no point in purchasing it, really, for the sake of just wanting the fabric if I'm not going to use it. So I left it there. But I definitely grabbed these because I was like, yeah, these I can use. These are fantastic. I mean, they're definitely like I would call them a worsted stuff. And I have, you know, the gray and the tan. So I guess I could create, you know, one of these into a English fitted waistcoat. I wondered with the gray with the black how that would go, because it's a very dark black. It's black with the red on it. I don't know. I'll have to think about it. I'm going to have to go through my wool stash downstairs. Now that it's organized, I can find everything. And I labeled all of my totes. And I eliminated like 5 or 6 totes. And I gave those totes to my sister because she was moving. I have one with a broken lid that I didn't give her because it's a broken lid. But, yeah. But anyway, so we're going to burn test these two just to be sure, along with the other fabrics that are here, along with this stack. So we'll show you how to burn test and what you're looking for. It's not, as I said, an exact science, but it's a good idea to know whether or not the fabric that you are using has any kind of synthetic quality to it or not. I'm going to put these back in their bag. Now, the cool thing is, I'm just using a bag from the house for these. They came rubber banded together, so I have a whole bunch of rubber bands now that I'll have to figure out how to use. So, let me just put some things away. Let's see here. Oh, that the gray, this, like, the secondhand vendor is very affordable. There's like 2 pieces here. It was 75 cents. 75 cents. It wasn't even $1. Now, they're offcuts. You know, we're not talking where you're getting a lot of yardage in one piece here. This is folded in half, so it's a 2-yard piece. 75 cents. And that's a bargain, y'all. This secondhand vendor that I use that's local to me, she has fabrics in a couple different, what would you call those? Antique stores. So I am familiar with her stuff, and her stock does slightly vary from place to place. So I do a circuit. When I'm providing you these wonderful thrift haul videos, I do the circuit, and maybe I'll do the circuit twice, and then I'll have a stash enough to present you with something. So today was a little bit of a fabric thrift haul, so to speak, with this video. She does a lot of this where she puts it in plastic. I save all the plastic bags. These don't get thrown out. They get reused, and if at all recycled, we try to recycle everything because yes. But this is full of a really nice twill tape. So she does sell notions as well, which is always wonderful. This one, believe it or not, I found at Walmart. Simplicity has a vintage line that goes with their vintage patterns. So you have some notions that they also make that are vintage inspired. So I happened to see this cute little measuring tape, and I was like, yes, I will give you a home little friend. One of the other videos, and I said I wasn't going to do it, but I am going to do a it says it's reconnecting, so I'm trying to give it a minute to do its thing. Hi, everyone. I know there's only a couple of you out there. I appreciate that you're watching now. Hi, Karen. Can you hear me, Karen? I'm glad you popped on because my internet says it's trying to reconnect. I only have a few more things to go over, but I will be publishing this live later on, so you can get all of the details of things that are coming up. Oh, cool. Okay. I was a little quiet there just because I didn't know if I would continue talking, if anybody could hear me, or if the connection was okay. So I guess it's reconnecting somehow. Basically, I was going over some, since you popped in, I was just going over some fabric that I had gotten, and we're going to be doing on the channel a fabric burn test video. So I'm going to be filming outside probably in the next couple weeks here. I have a whole stack of fabrics that I showed earlier. So if you rewatch this, you'll see all of those fabrics. And from there, we're just going to show how a burn test works, what you're looking for, if you're looking for natural fibers in your fabrics that you're using, and how that turns out. Because a lot of folks are doing chemical testing, and I wanted to show what a quick burn test looked like, just because not everybody's familiar with it. So keep an eye out for that video in the future. One of the other things I wanted to show, and I had said something about not doing a hair taping video. I'm going to do a hair taping video. So what that comes down to is I bought these, it's linen tape. It's woven linen tape. It's 100% linen. And there's 2 yards of this. You can get this. This is from a seller called Ladydotcreates. And she is, she has a Facebook page, but she's also on Etsy. So I have several of these that I bought from her. I keep the plastic bags. I use them for other things. But I'm going to show a general hair taping video, how that looks like, a couple different ways that you can do it. I know that there's some other YouTubers that have done hair taping videos, but I think we all do it a little bit differently. And I'm going to make sure to show you the bodkin that I use to get through my hair and how that goes and how that hairstyling works. There's another one of those. I have several of them. So I have enough hair tape to get me through for quite some time. Besides the fabrics that I had purchased earlier, sometimes you find little gems. So this happens to be, it feels like it is just stuffed with like cotton. It doesn't feel like it's stuffed with, it's not a sachet, so it doesn't smell of any kind of herbs or anything. But it's got silk ribbon embroidery on it. So this would be a nice pin cushion. But to be honest with you, I wouldn't want to use the pretty side. I'd probably use the back side if I was going to do a pin cushion. I picked this up because, well, it's just the cutest little thing. And yeah, I can feel this. It's real silk. So that's, someone created this with some love. It is a heart after all. And that's a Jace. He's saying hello. Hi. I think he wants treats. It's almost that time. But I don't give them to you. Daddy does. Oh, he went downstairs. So I found another one, which is also silk ribbon from the same vendor. I'm going to stuff this one. I have lavender downstairs, so I'm going to probably stuff this full of some wonderful lavender as kind of like a pomander, so to speak. And I could probably, I know I have some good lace, so we can find some lace to put around the edge of this too. It's nice just to have these little things as you can find them, because you know that someone took some time to make them. See, this looks like it is linen cord, 5 yards. I think it's waxed linen cord too. Sometimes you run into these vintage pieces where they're just sort of wrapped. I use them, so to speak, but sometimes if it's such a beautiful advertisement. This one, not so much, but when I do find advertisements for vintage sewing notions, I have a beautiful book downstairs that I'll have to show you guys sometime, full of needles that I really refuse to use. Not that the needles aren't good, but everything is complete, and it's a vintage book of needles in the cardboard advertising that is just awesome. And you don't find them like that. So I was thinking to myself, I'm just going to keep that as it is. I found that in my vintage sewing table for my treadle sewing machine. So I was like, this is a treasure. We are going to keep it complete. But anyway, I'm pretty much done, so to speak, for the things that I've gone over at this point in time. I really appreciate you hopping on. Thank you, Karen, for the connection verification. I really appreciate that because you just never know with YouTube, and if something goes a little awry, you could be talking and nothing is recording. It's one of those things. Are you making anything interesting as of yet? Because if you wanted to stay on, I have a project I can work on, and we can certainly chit chat. But I guess one of the things I also did earlier is I sort of went through the contents of my pouches from my earlier video. Since I was a distance away, you wouldn't have been able to see it. Oh, it's later in the night there. Yes, I forgot about the time difference. So yeah, it's only about 6:16 here. So about supper time, so to speak, or well, that depends on how early you eat, I guess, too, but would be considered meal time around here. But yeah, I think to England it's like 6 hours, so you guys are probably like 5 hours. Yeah, 11. Yeah, that would be right. 5-hour difference. But yeah, basically I had gone over the pouches that I happen to have, things I have on my belt, fabrics that I'll be working with eventually. And let's see, talked about the burn test, talked about doing a hair taping video. Is there any sort of topic that you'd be interested in seeing a video on? I certainly always open to suggestions. I mainly focus on like Tudor and historical clothing, so I stay around that realm of things. I do some 18th century, and I am going to be touching on some 18th century sort of like farmers clothing. So lower middle class is the outfit that I currently have. I don't have anything really fancy for my 18th century yet. I am hoping to get some shoes from American Duchess, just to have a good set of shoes that will wear well and hold together. Hold on. And because no video is complete without a fuzzy, say hello. You're going to be quiet now, of course. Yes. This is Jace. He is the younger of the two cats, and he is curious and mischievous. Yes. And he wants to crawl on the table, which he knows he's not allowed to. Mr. Boo. Yes, Jace Boo, first and middle name. We call him Mr. Boo most of the time. But since I have all of my sort of fabric and things around the computer, he's all over wanting to smell and get into absolutely everything because cat. Well, I probably have to get started cooking on that supper that I was talking about. Well, I have several different things that I'm working on, Karen. Specifically, I want to make a Tudor in English fitted gown, which will be made of wool. I'm probably going to have to line that in some sort of linen or other natural material. So it'll be sort of a fitted bodice with a sleeve, and then it's sort of a smooth gathered skirt in the back. So it's gathered in the back of it. So I'll be making one of those here at some point. And I wanted to make it out of black wool to match a hat that is on my upcoming video. So this coming Friday, I have a video about hats, hoods, and coifs. So talking about Tudor headwear and a little bit of hairstyling. And I'm hoping to sort of just make a matching outfit at some point, but the hat that I have that's black, it has red embroidery on it. So I'm kind of hoping to make the fitted gown and have some embroidery going down the front of it, I think would look really good. So yeah, a bit of an ambitious project, but I think it will turn out really nice. That's what I'm working on right now. Other than finishing the Tudor shirts, I have to do hook and eyes on them yet and put in the gussets on the sides. So that's about it. Oh, well, thank you. Projects always sort of jump in between what you already plan. I don't know how you are, but sometimes I'll get interested in something else, jump over to do that project, and then have to return back to the one that I was working on. So, Jace, don't get into the closet. Well, I really appreciate you jumping on, Karen. It was great to not necessarily be talking to a camera. I'm hoping to schedule some lives every once in a while. So hopefully we will get to do this sometime in the future. I really appreciate you having jumping on again. Have a good night. Bye.